You're in the shower, or walking somewhere, or lying in bed, and you're not really there. You're 3 weeks in the past, back in that conversation that didn't go your way. Except this time, you say it perfectly. The exact right words, the perfect timing, the line that leaves them speechless. You feel your face react. Your heart actually speeds up. And then you blink, and you're back, holding a bottle of shampoo, having just won an argument that ended a month ago. If you do this a lot, you've probably asked yourself why. Why does my brain keep building these scenes that never happened? Maybe you've decided it means you're anxious, or stuck in the past, or just a little broken. It doesn't. And here's the first thing you need to know. Your brain isn't doing this because you're bored, and it isn't doing it at random. It's trying to close something. There's a specific reason it keeps reopening the same scene, and once you can name it, the whole habit starts to make sense. We'll get there. But first, let's look at what's actually happening when you disappear like that. Your brain runs simulations. All day, quietly, in the background, it rehearses situations before they happen. What you'll say, how they'll react, what could go wrong. Think of it like a flight simulator. Pilots train for thousands of hours in a cockpit that never leaves the ground, crashing safely, trying again, building the reflexes they'll need in the air. Your mind does the same thing with your life. It's not a glitch. It's one of the most useful tools you have. There's a system behind it. When you stop focusing on the outside world, when you zone out in the shower or on a long drive, a network in your brain called the default mode network switches on. It's the part that generates your inner world, your memories, your worries, your imagined conversations. For most people, it turns on now and then. But for some, it becomes the preferred place to be. The simulator starts to feel better than the runway. A clinical psychologist named Eli Summer gave this a name back in 2002. He called it maladaptive daydreaming. When these inner worlds get so rich and so frequent that people spend hours a day inside them. And here's what most people miss. The scenarios usually fall into 3 types. There's the argument you replay, the coworker who talked over you in the meeting, and now, alone in the shower, you finally shut them down cold. There's the future where you succeed. You're giving the speech, accepting the award, walking back into the room as the person who finally made it, while everyone who ever doubted you goes quiet. And there's the worst case, where your mind runs the disaster before it lands. The breakup, the layoff, the phone call with bad news, so you're never caught off guard. Different scenes, same machine. So why do some people live in the simulator while others barely notice it's there? It comes down to a trait psychologists call absorption. How deeply you get pulled into an experience. If you're someone who gets completely lost in a song or can't shake a film for hours after it ends, your nervous system feels things at high volume. The same wiring that lets a single piece of music wreck you is the wiring that builds these worlds. And a mind that feels that intensely will eventually build a place where it can feel things on its own terms, somewhere the volume is finally yours to set. If any of this is sounding familiar, and you'd like more breakdowns like this, take a second to subscribe. It genuinely helps these reach the right people. Now stay with me, because we still haven't answered the real question. Not what your brain is doing, why it keeps dragging you back to the same scene, over and over, even when you're begging it to stop. Here's the answer. In the 1920s, a psychologist named Zeigarnik noticed something strange. Waiters could remember complicated orders perfectly, right up until the meal was paid for. The second the bill was settled, the order vanished from their memory. Her conclusion: the brain holds on hard to anything unfinished. An open task stays loud. A closed one goes quiet. You felt this without ever naming it. A song that cuts out before the final note. A text you read and never answered. It sits there, low and nagging, until something finally closes it. That's why you replay the argument you lost, and not the ones you won. The lost argument is an open tab. Your brain keeps reopening it, trying to finally close the loop, to get the resolution it never got in real life. You're not stuck in the past. You're running the same scene because, on some level, your mind refuses to accept that it's over. And the imagined version is better. That's the trap. Reality doesn't let you control how people respond. Your brain does. Out there, people talk over you, misread you, walk off in the middle of your sentence. In here, you hold the script. You decide what they say, when they soften, how it ends. It's the one room where you're never powerless. Psychologists call this counterfactual thinking, replaying a moment with the variables changed. In there, the person who hurt you finally understands. You say the right thing. You win. Of course you go back. Think about Maya. She's 29, and right now she's locked herself in the bathroom at her family's Thanksgiving. For the third time this hour, she's rehearsing it. The calm, perfect sentence she's finally going to say to the aunt who's spent 15 years making small comments about her weight, her job, her life. She has it word for word. It's devastating. It's fair. And then she unlocks the door, walks back to the table, and says, "The turkey's amazing." She said the whole thing. Just not out loud. Just not to anyone. That's the cost nobody names. The simulator is so satisfying that you start logging all your hours there, and none on the runway. You rehearse the conversation so completely that your brain marks it as done, and the real one never happens. Worse, the line between real and imagined gets thin. You can wake up annoyed at someone for something they did only in your head, and carry it into a real morning with a real person who has no idea why you've gone cold on them. The scenes were supposed to prepare you for your life. Slowly, quietly, they start replacing it. So let's be clear about what this actually is. You're not broken, and you're not avoiding your life. You have a powerful simulator, and you've logged thousands of hours in it. That's not nothing. That's a mind that can rehearse, predict, and feel its way through a situation before it ever happens. Most people can't do a fraction of what you do in there. The only thing missing is the takeoff. So here's how you taxi to the runway. First, name the run. The next time you catch yourself mid-scenario, ask one question. Is this preparing me or protecting me? Preparing is rehearsing something you're actually going to do. Protecting is using the scene to feel the thing so you never have to risk doing it. You imagine the confession so vividly that the imagining feels like enough, and so you never send the message. Same daydream, opposite outcomes. Just naming which one you're in breaks the spell, because protection only works in the dark. Second, close the loop on paper. Remember Zeigarnik. Your brain replays what feels unfinished, so finish it somewhere real. Write the scenario down. Write the speech, the comeback, the confession. Once it exists outside your head, your brain gets the signal that the loop is closed, and it quiets down. You stop carrying it. And third, the one that matters most. Take one rehearsed thing into the real world this week. Just one. The conversation you've practiced 100 times. Have 5 seconds of it out loud. Send the first line of the message. Ask the one question. It will feel small and clumsy and far less polished than the version in your head. And that is exactly the point. The simulator was never the destination. It was always training for the flight. You already know the controls better than anyone. You just have to leave the hangar. So tell me below, what's the one scenario you replay the most? Naming it is the first step out of it. If this made something click, subscribe and turn on the bell. And if your mind never seems to switch off, I made a video on the psychology of people who can't stop thinking. It's right here. I'll see you there.